If you thought Spider-Man had Spider-Man as much as a Spider-Man could Spider-Man because of No Way Home and the three Spider-Mans, you're wrong. This Spider-Man Brand New Day, I think is the most Spider-Man movie ever. Let's talk about Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Dr. Banner?
I didn't know you could get that big.
Here we go. We are faced with a danger that we can't control. One we can't even see. You're the only one who can sense it. You're the only one who can defeat it.
Dude, you can ask me anything.
Okay, what if you're mid-swing and you decide you need to pee?
Some things I just can't tell you.
Before I get going into this podcast and talking about how much I enjoyed this movie and the different aspects of this movie, I got to say spoilers for anyone who's coming across this and not wanting spoilers. This is a spoiler podcast. We're going to talk about all of it, but also maybe hit subscribe, hit the like button. This is a new podcast. I'm really trying to get this going for all like the new releases and have fun talking about these movies and hearing your thoughts. So hop into the comments. But also, I got to talk about my love for this character because, like everybody, I have a special relationship with this character. I love Spider-Man. Everybody loves Spider-Man, and I love him too. I grew up with this character. Kindergarten, I remember if I ran home as fast as I could get there in time for the end of the animated series song intro to be done, which, by the way, baller intro, my favorite animated series of the 90s, even better than Batman. Obviously, like that song was a big part of it. But I remember like when they did their version of Secret Wars and it like melted my brain seeing Johnny Storm and Cap and Spider-Man and Doom. It is just so cool. But I love that series. And then in junior high and high school, after getting into the comics, Sam Raimi started making his Spider-Man movies. And I was a little too young to go and see them on my own. And so me and my mom kind of made it a thing. And my mom loved superheroes. She was a big Christopher Reeve fan, and she loved Spider-Man. And I'm already getting a little emotional because like a couple days before No Way Home came out, my mom passed away. And, then I go and see this movie, and obviously we all know what happens to Aunt May in No Way Home and the themes of that movie. And it was just so cathartic and healing to go and see one of my favorite characters kind of show how to get through that moment. And like, obviously I knew how I needed to get through that moment, but it was just so healing to see that on screen and the brotherhood of him and the other Peters and them helping him with his grief. It's just a beautiful movie. And it was a beautiful experience for me personally. And so I was a little nervous for what they were going to do coming off of that movie. Because if you think about it, like No Way Home, like that's kind of an impossible situation. Like not only do you have like, how do you get better than having three Spider-Mans, but also like you're left with huge consequences. Superhero movies don't usually do this. They wrap it all up in a nice bow most of the time, or they give you something that's just like a little bit shocking, but something you could easily skip past. Like even in this series, like in Homecoming, you have Aunt May find out who, Peter is, that he is Spider-Man. And in the next movie, it's just kind of done away with. It's not even really a talking point because you could easily skip past that. And a lot of times, superhero movies, they do that. But you can't do that with No Way Home. Peter is completely on his own. It is a brand new day for Spider-Man. And I gotta say, Spider-Man Brand New Day, it got me devastated, but still hopeful for this character because they dealt with that ending of No Way Home so perfectly. The beginning of this movie, we are sitting with Peter dealing with the consequences of those actions of letting everyone forget who he is so he can save them. And he's completely alone. He's isolated. And then we see him choose that isolation, because he's obviously hurt. He's lost everybody. He's been through this traumatic experience. I mean, like, you think about it, this Spider-Man has lost more than anybody in the MCU. You know, obviously he lost his parents. Uncle Ben at some point, which it's a real shame that we'll never have an Uncle Ben in the MCU. But he lost him. And then obviously Aunt May and Tony Stark kind of fill in the gap of Uncle Ben in this world. And he loses both of them. And then the incantation. So no one remembers who he is. So basically he's lost every single person. That's this Spider-Man. And he is dealing with that and not dealing with it at the same time. He's just devastated and hurt, and he's been through all this trauma, and he just doesn't reach out to anybody. There are people at the beginning, like we start to see him kind of be Spider-Man, and Ned and MJ, they're over at college having the time of their life, and he's kind of watching from a distance, which is so unhealthy. But he is dealing with all of that, and he basically just puts his head down and just works hard and deals with being Spider-Man and taking care of the city and trying to, you know, put away these villains. And it's really cool to have a montage, you know, of this 4 years, and we get the different heroes. And I know some people will probably be upset, you know, Tombstone only getting a couple seconds. You know, I'm probably the biggest Boomerang fan I know of because of Superior Foes of Spider-Man. What a cool run. But like, I'm okay with it. You know, giving Boomerang just a couple seconds is fine. We'll talk about the hand in a little bit. That was a little weird. We'll get to that. You know, you get this montage to basically show the passing of time. And throughout that montage, we get a few moments where people kind of reach out to Peter and try to have a little bit of community and get to know him. And he shoots them down every time, because this is a Spider-Man who's not just about trying to protect others. He's protecting himself. He doesn't want to go through that again. He doesn't want to get more hurt. And all of that trauma starts to build up, and we literally see it. His body is going through the damage of all that trauma. His wrists begin to hurt. His head begins to hurt. There's something going on with Spider-Man. And at the same time, we have characters like DeWolf, the detective, who is played by that brilliant actress in The Bear. She's great in this movie. She's great in The Bear, and she's great here. But DeWolf is like, hey, you know, maybe you need to take a break. Maybe you need to slow down. And Spider-Man's like, no, this is my life. This is all I have. I got to keep going. I got to keep helping. And at the same time, you know, not thinking about his own problems. And he's just isolating himself. He needs community, but he refuses to get it. And he refuses to be open enough to accept that community when it's offered to him. So he just keeps on grinding until all of a sudden we're kind of thrown into this story of this, you know, basically superpowered individual who is hopping through different people, who is possessing different people. And Spidey is the only one who can sense it. And, you know, like, I've got a lot of issues with that. You know, I really love what they did with Peter and Spider-Man, with the ramifications of No Way Home, and definitely with Ned and MJ, as we'll get to in a little while. But I got to say, the main story is maybe the weakest aspect of this, because having Sadie Sink in this movie, to me, is just odd. That's not to say Sadie Sink is great. What she does in this movie is good, and I'm going to stop being vague here in a sec because I don't care about spoilers anymore. You know, being Jean Grey is a pretty cool thing, but also why in Spider-Man? like I get you wanted to do this kind of a thing with a character, to have someone kind of messing with Spider-Man's brain, and you can't do that with Mysterio anymore. So like, who can accomplish that? I get that, but you could have done that in different ways. You could have had someone just come to his house and read the note. You could have had a lot of different things happen to where you weren't bringing in an X-Man as the villain in this story. And I want you to hear me. Sadie Sink is the villain in this. And I don't think that what she does in the end is enough to be a redeeming factor for her, because some of the things she does in this movie is awful. Like, she's killed plenty of people. I can get why the world is probably not going to like the X-Men and mutants if they look at Jean Grey and that's the mutant they know, and they can see that she's murdered people. Like when they go into damage control and she has two of them shoot each other, they're dead. Like there's no way they survive that. And she just walks in. She's killed people, and then of course, as we'll get into that roof scene. What she makes Peter go through, I will never forgive her for that. So like it could have been someone else. It's kind of weird to have an X-Men do this stuff. But like the way that she does it is fun. You know, this hopping through different people, and Spidey's the only one who can sense it. So damage control, comes in and is just like, hey, Spidey, we need you to do all this stuff. And, you get Mr. Milchek. Mr. Metzger, who, like, let's be honest, he works at Lumen. He's still working at Lumen. He looks like, Mr. Milchek in this. He acts like Mr. Milchek in this. Tremel Tillman, I hope he doesn't just get, pigeonholed into this character forever, but I can see why they wanted him in this, because they basically just wanted Severance in this movie. Like even like the cubicle prison that they have for Jean later on, it just screams Severance. So it's just kind of funny that they have him there. But as soon as he's like, I've got this vault over here, and what's in the vault? Oh, we can't tell you. Like, come on, we know that he's going to be the villain. And it's kind of interesting because then when you think about it, I guess Damage Control is like the main antagonist of this series, right? Like, because in Homecoming, they're the reason why Vulture does what he does. And then in No Way Home, of course, they're the antagonist because they're shooting at Spider-Man and like hauling people in and trying to get him to go to jail. So like that's Damage Control. And then obviously with this movie, Damage Control is the bad guy. So it's just interesting that they would take Damage Control and make that like the overarching bad guys in this Spider-Man series. Kind of strange. But we get some really cool action, with the tank scene and obviously Frank Castle. Whoever had that idea of bringing John Bernthal into this movie and putting him with, Tom Holland, brilliant. Just, you get a raise. I get why you get paid millions of dollars, because that's just a fantastic idea. I know everyone was wanting Daredevil to be in this. They wanted, Daredevil to team up with Spider-Man. This is the perfect team up, because Frank Castle is like so much the opposite of Spider-Man. And you basically have like young and plucky versus like hardened and just mean. And it's like the perfect complement. And then you have Tom Holland and John Bernthal, who obviously have crazy chemistry. Like we saw it in the Odyssey. We've seen it in other movies they've done together, but also in real life. Like they're the ones who literally shot the audition tapes for each other. Like they're just like really interesting friends. And so they have great chemistry, and you put them together and it's fun for the action stuff. Like seeing the Punisher try to shoot Hulk is hilarious and awesome at the same time. And then seeing Spidey, web up Frank Castle's mouth to get him to stop cursing. So great. But to me, it was more of like the scenes when they're at his boathouse, where they're just like talking and like, Punisher is like, are you blushing under there, Spidey? Like that kind of stuff. I just thought those moments were so great. And like, Punisher making fun of Spidey for having his mask on while he's drinking coffee. It's just, that's great. And you get maybe one of the funniest moments of recent MCU stuff, because you have John Bernthal, and it's John Bernthal, like doing like the fake Spidey wave in the hospital to be a distraction. Hilarious. So good. I just love John Bernthal being a part of this movie. But there's a lot of characters in this movie. Let's deal with some of them. Like you got Hulk, who I felt like was not necessary in this movie. I just didn't need him. I get why they did it. It's fun to have a Hulk Spidey fight as quick as it is. But it feels like when you put him in the marketing for all that stuff, like I've seen a lot of comic book movies, so I know how it goes. You put him in the trailer, and that doesn't mean that they're going to be a big part of the movie. But I think probably a lot of people will be disappointed by the amount of Hulk time that you get with him. But it was fun. Like, that battle was fun, and having Bruce Banner kind of like talking to him and figuring out like, oh, you're not my student. Oh, there's something going on with you. Like when he starts talking about the mutations and how to stop it and all of that. Like, it's fun. It's fun. I just kind of wish he was in it a little bit more. Maybe even just one more scene, like a little bit of a follow-up for where Hulk ended up. I know they said it on the news that he went to a psychiatric ward or whatever. I just wish we had like one more Spidey Hulk scene or Bruce Banner Peter scene. But it felt a little shoved in there, but it worked well enough. Maybe the people that just didn't need to be in there was the Hand. All right. And just even like the way they talked about it, like, whoa. Like, I felt like I was watching a kid's show for a minute, because they were like, the super powered ninja group, the Hand. And like, I get it's the news and they got to like boil it down for people, but that just makes it seem like, a Saturday morning cartoon, right? The super powered ninja group. And they were lame. The Hand was super lame in this thing. The only thing is that they had like the cool battle in the end. Which I guess we got to talk about, all the action. The action is phenomenal. Obviously, you got the new director from Shang-Chi, which was fantastic. You got Cretton in this thing. And yeah, he's building on all the stuff that John Watts did in the first 3 movies. But the action really shines in this movie because you get stuff like the web slinging, like the literal swinging through New York. Just so cool. Maybe the best web slinging we've had since The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which, a lot of people trash on, but I thought was pretty fun. And those swinging scenes are fantastic. And they look almost as good in this. Definitely the best that we've had in the MCU. So that's kind of fun. But, you get a lot of that action stuff. You get really cool, innovative ideas. You get like that like kind of psychic block, which is maybe a little too similar, because they did a similar thing in Thunderbolts where you had the Void and it was just like a wall basically going and, in capturing all of New York. And it kind of felt like that. But it's also kind of dope, because like you have like the water and it like looks like it's almost like a CRT TV that's kind of just like wavy. I just thought that was a really cool look. And some of the stuff that they do with Jean and her powers, I thought was really interesting. But man, she is the worst because of what she did with MJ. And I got to talk about Zendaya in this movie. Like, obviously, we all know the star of the Spider-Man movies is Tom Holland. But Zendaya, like, she does so much more than just the Spider-Man movies. But she is just on a tear. Between the drama, which, did you know that there was a huge drama reference in this movie? When Spider-Man crashes through the window and is in that wedding reception, he's like, sorry, guys.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, actually, the groom is going to speak first.
That's the same wedding reception hall as the drama. And I just saw The Devil Wears Prada, and I'm pretty sure like The Devil Wears Prada 2 also uses that one. So it's kind of interesting. I don't know what's going on with that building right now, but it seems like everybody is using it. But Zendaya being in both of those movies, I was like, oh, that's so funny to have that be the same place. But she is so good in the drama, and then so good in her limited role of the Odyssey, and now so fantastic in this movie, because she's doing a lot. She is the heart of this movie. Because you have her basically being like, obviously we have an attachment to her and her character. We want her to end up with Peter, but she's not quite the same girl as she used to be. She's not as goofy for sure. Maybe that's because she's grown up, but also I think maybe because of the relationship with Peter, she kind of leaned into the goofiness. We see it in that beautiful scene of all of them sitting there building Legos, which I'll get to. But like Zendaya, like just plays that brilliantly of being almost the same character, but slightly different, aged up a little bit, but also, you know, just still like that earnest person who cares about other people. And she obviously cares about Spider-Man right off the bat because he's there to help her because Jean's after her, which again makes Jean like the worst. I don't know how she is redeemable after she kills people and then goes after MJ and what she ends up doing with MJ, which as soon as it started, I was like, is this happening? Does she remember him? Like, oh my goodness, what a great moment, but also such a horrible thing for Jean to do to Spidey. But Zendaya just acted the crap out of that scene. And then when she finds the note and has that confrontation and she's like, I can't love you. I don't know you. And, you know, that's not to say like there can't be anything. I feel pretty hopeful for their future, but it's going to be different. It's not going to be the same relationship. But I just thought she was incredible in this movie. But Ned is just, man, that guy, when he first came around on the scene in Homecoming, I was like, okay, you got to have a buddy for Spider-Man. But eventually, you know, that scene time will be eaten up by MJ and they'll have more MJ and Peter scenes. But he just never went away. And he just kept on making you love him. To me, this is the best friendship in the MCU between Peter and Ned, and it beats out everybody else. It beats out Tony and Happy because Tony is just too mean to Happy, and then Cap and Bucky because they never get a scene together. Like, what is up with that? Like, you just never put them together ever, even though they're best friends, but whatever. We just never got back to that first Avenger relationship. But to me, Ned and Peter beat him out. Like specific moments of, you know, like the airplane and Far From Home. I don't really dig that movie that much. But like how they go back and forth with their plans and everything. It just feels so genuine for like high school friendship. And then, you know, Endgame. They always get me. When they hug in the hallway after both of them blipped, which is still the dumbest word that they came up with in the MCU. But when both of them blipped and they came back and they hugged, that's probably the most emotional I get in Endgame. Beats out Hawkeye's family for some reason. I just love these two together. And you see that again in this movie. You see Peter just longing for that friendship to be reunited. And then throughout the movie, you get little aspects of it. You know, he goes to the party and immediately hits it off with Ned. So their friendship, like that was true and genuine to who they were as human beings. Because again, it just begins to start like it's there. It's underneath all of it. And you get like the Lego scene, which was so good. Because, you know, yeah, it was MJ's idea for him to come and say hi. But also, Ned has been looking for Spidey, right? Like he's got the tracker going. And you just see like he's longing for that relationship. He knows that he needs to know something about Spider-Man. And here comes Spider-Man to build Legos with him. And just the way they talk, it's just those three together. It's just perfect. But Ned and Peter, I just love them together. And then, of course, at the end, that's how they can know each other because of that muscle memory that just unlocks something. Now, whether that's all the memories or not, I don't know, but I was just so happy to see it. And that's probably the thing that got me the most emotional was seeing them back together. And what a beautiful little moment for Peter and Ned. I love those guys. But we got to get back to Spidey and back to Tom Holland. He is able to do this character so well. We've seen him from when he was a kid, now to being an adult and going through all the changes that he does in this movie. He's trying to hide from it, tries to control it. He just can't do it. He knows he has to let go and just become his full version of himself and trust himself. Trust himself that he's going to be able to handle that amount of power. And that's a scary thing to trust yourself. And especially when no one's there to tell him you can trust yourself, except for a few people, and he finally gets that message. He can trust himself, and also he can reach out to people. He can rely on people, and he grows in this movie to become this ultimate version of Spider-Man. Like at the end of this, he is just kicking butt like crazy. He is like this, maybe the most powerful person left in the MCU, just on his own, on Earth at least. Like you got Thor out there doing Thor things, but on Earth, is anyone more powerful than Spidey? Because he's also smart and he took down the Hulk, although the Hulk kind of let himself go, I guess. But like I would say he could take on the Hulk and be okay and still have his smarts about him. And now to see what he's able to do now that he's like kind of let go of the trauma and just embraced being himself and knows that he needs community, and he gets like that little bit of community back. And you can see that like he basically finds himself in this movie, which is what he needed to do after No Way Home. It is the perfect follow-up for it. Now, again, I have issues. I think like it would have been great to have some other villain as the main antagonist and just have Jean Grey as part of it. I don't know why we had to like just do like this vague idea of damage control, trying to, harness the powers of mutants. I know like we're probably building up for further MCU projects, but I wish that we did more Spider-Man themed villains in this. But the story itself, what they were able to accomplish with Jean, what they were able to accomplish in Spider-Man through this villain of Jean Grey, I thought was pretty powerful. It got Spider-Man to be in that place that we like, where yes, he's in the grinder. He's been through hard things. He's on his own, but there's a little bit of hope there. We get Ned. MJ's back in his life. It's not the same as it used to be, but we can get there. And, now he has all of this power and, not having to go through the canisters with the web slinging and stuff. I think that this is a great place for Spider-Man to be. And now, it's going to make bank. There are people saying like, it's going to make 900 million opening weekend. That's crazy. That's unheard of. That's like to think about Spider-Man being bigger than the Avengers is pretty crazy. No Way Home made a lot of money, but it didn't make as much money as Avengers Endgame. And they're saying that this one might do it. This one might make 300 million plus domestic, 900 million worldwide opening weekend. I know for me and my family, we really enjoyed it. I wanted to love this movie a little bit more. I really dug the scene with Aunt May and Jean and Peter, that memory scene, and the idea of you being beautiful because you're you, and not just because of your powers. Despite how people might try to use your powers, there will be people who will love you for you. I thought that was beautiful, a beautiful message specifically for younger people. And definitely Jean seems like she's very young in this. So I thought that was a beautiful way to kind of finish this theme in this movie. And it had a lot of fun. It had a lot of action, had a lot of funny moments between Spidey and Frank Castle. You got the Hulk moments with the fight, and Spider-Man being perched on top of Hulk is like an all-time great, nerd scene. But I just wish that there was a different villain, I guess I liked Scorpion in this movie. I would have been okay with Scorpion being the main villain. I love that actor, from Better Call Saul. So like, I would be up for that, but I don't know. It just feels weird to have Jean Grey be such a villain in this. And then at the end, she's on a bus ride up north, upstate. Obviously we kind of know where she's going, gifted school, right? But I just don't think that I care for her after this. Like, I think Sadie Sink nailed what they gave her, but I just don't think that she's that likable of a character after everything she did to Spidey and to other people. Like, she killed a lot of people. I don't know. Like, she's got to pay for that. That's so weird to just kind of have her be like, all right, bye. I know like her sister went through stuff, but it's just strange. So that's probably my biggest gripe with the movie, is just that. But I really enjoyed this movie. For me, I'd probably give it like 4 out of 5 stars. I think that's what I'll probably end up doing on Letterboxd. Let me know what you think about this movie down in the comments section. Did you like it? Did you like Brand New Day? For me, I'm probably going to put Brand New Day like right below No Way Home. Like No Way Home, that's a high bar, man, because you have the 3 Spider-Mans, we get everything, we get the Toby of it all, like, and you get all like the emotion of it. Like those scenes with May's death are just so powerful, and like the scenes of them dealing with that and that brotherhood, I just love it so much. But I think this is maybe better than Homecoming. Homecoming is pretty great, by the way. And then way below all of those would be Far From Home. That movie is just not good. It just isn't. None of it makes sense. Drones flying around and how people don't know it's drones. Like, you would hear it. You would know that it's a drone, okay? Spidey would know that it's a drone. It's just so strange of a story, and what they did with Mysterio. Team Mysterio, so lame. But Brand New Day, with Hulk, with Frank Castle, with Ned and MJ, like it's just great and fun, and a perfect follow-up for No Way Home. But yeah, that's what I think. Let me know all of your thoughts down below. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're listening to the podcast, rate and review wherever you're listening, and I'll be back for the next movie, which will probably end up being the end of Oak Street, probably. I'm looking forward to that. Anne Hathaway, Ewan McGregor, dinosaurs. I'm in. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.